What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Today, it is a day for value. I've had a look at the Premier League fixtures, and there's some juicy ones in there. None other than, of course, Liverpool up against Manchester City and Manchester United hosting Newcastle at Old Trafford. It's going to be very, very exciting. Please do drop a like, subscribe down below so you don't miss any videos. Thank you to all of you for 22,000 subscribers. A massive shout out to all of the brand new members of the TF90 Super Tipsters. You can click the join button down below or the link in the description. So that is Guillaume Salomon, Spac Productions, then unfortunately a name I cannot pronounce because I don't know that alphabet, Trendy Lifestyle, Nox Locks, Minzy T, Landframe Technology, Nguanhok Chon, and Lungta Yelzin 73. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And speaking of tips, by the way, last week's Premier League video absolutely smashed it. We had Chelsea to win under 3.5 goals and to nil. Man City to win over 3.5 goals with Haaland scoring. Newcastle to win in both teams to score. Crystal Palace to win 2-1. West Ham to win by 2 goals. Arsenal to win in both teams to score. Man United to win and under 3.5 goals and both teams to score in the Forest Villa game. The only slight hiccups were the Brighton Tottenham game. I thought both teams would score. You could argue they probably should have done. And I thought Leicester would beat Bournemouth, but Bournemouth again surprising everybody. But I got some really cool tips for you in this video, and maybe I'll come up with another ACCA on the fly. Should be fun. Kicking it off first, we do have Brentford up against Brighton, and Brighton, they actually travel okay. They're not one of those teams that really fails to, score goals away from home. I mean, they went to Anfield and scored 3 goals, so I do think Brighton can actually sneak a win here, but I would say it's quite unlikely that Brighton win to nil, so I'm going to give Brentford a goal, but Brighton the win 2-1. My tip, however, is going to be both teams to score at 1.75, because if it doesn't end in a Brighton win, my guess for the prediction will be a 1-1 or a 2-2 draw, or even a 3-3 draw. I mean, both Brighton and Brentford, to my knowledge, have been involved in 3-3 draws with Liverpool, so it could happen. You never know. We could see a load of goals. I think both teams to score at 1.75 is definitely the way to go there. Leicester Crystal Palace. Leicester, what on earth is happening? What on earth is happening? Leicester losing to Bournemouth from, well, they were ahead, then Bournemouth come back from behind to win. You know what? I want to predict a Leicester win. It could easily be a draw. And the last time I predicted something for Crystal Palace and then changed my prediction at the very last second, I got a perfect score. I initially wrote down 3-2 to Leicester. But you know what? I haven't seen it from Leicester. Leicester losing to Bournemouth as well. Only beating on Nottingham Forest. Palace, I said they should beat Leeds and they did. I'll change my prediction. I originally had 2-2 to Leicester. 3-2 to Leicester, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw now. The only reason I feel like I can change that is because it doesn't affect my tip in any way. My tip here is both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 2.1. That came true in Leicester's game last week against Bournemouth and Palace's game last week against Leeds. So I could definitely see it happening again. Leicester's defense isn't great, but their attack is very good, and they have been scoring a lot of goals. I mean, if we disregard the Bournemouth game where they scored 1, they scored 4 against Forest, 2 against Tottenham, 2 against Brighton, none against Man United, 1 against Chelsea, and 1 against Southampton. That's more than enough to contribute to a both teams to score and over 2.5 tip. Fulham up against Bournemouth. This is a difficult one. I think if Alexander Mitrovic plays, I would go for a 2-1 Fulham win. But I don't know if he's still injured. I assume he might be. Maybe he's coming back. I'm not certain, but we're going to pretend at the moment like he isn't, because I'm recording this a few days before any sort of news about these games. We've still got Champions League and Europa League and all that stuff to worry about. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. My tip is both teams to score at 1.8. Bournemouth have been making a good account of themselves, currently above Liverpool in the league. That's absolutely crazy. I still think Bournemouth could go down, and they're pretty much at evens now to go down, which is a very good price. So if you did want to bet on someone to get relegated, I reckon Bournemouth at about 1.9 right now is not a bad shout, because they've been massively overperforming their XG in terms of points. They're actually the lowest. They've got the lowest XG amount of points in the Premier League, which is just not a sustainable way to go throughout a season. And whilst they've been picking up results, I don't think they're going to stay up. I just don't see how. Their squad is so much worse than everyone else's, but they're still proving us wrong at this point in time. After that, it's Wolves up against Nottingham Forest. I think Wolves are finally going to get a win here. Forest with only 1 win very early on. Wolves with the 1 win against Southampton 1-0. I'm going for a repeat at Molineux. Going to be low scoring, going to be pretty dull. 1-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. And my tip is Wolves to win at 1.64, 1.7. Pretty good odds, I want to say. After that, it's Tottenham Hotspur up against Everton. Everton losing deservedly to Manchester United 2-1. But then again, absolutely barraging the net towards the end of the game to try and search for that equaliser. Tottenham, as I said, haven't played in Champions League or anything like that. But I'm going for a win for Tottenham in the Champions League, by the way. but also I'm going to go for a win here. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Tottenham. These odds aren't particularly great. Can't rely on an Everton goal necessarily, but I think Tottenham to score at least twice is pretty good. So my tip is actually going to be Harry Kane to score at 2.05. To get above evens, if there's going to be a goal, it is likely going to be him like it was against Brighton. If there's a penalty, it's going to be him that takes it. So I'm going 2-1 to Tottenham, Harry Kane to score. Now after this, we have Aston Villa up against Chelsea. Gerrard looks out of ideas, to be honest. Should have beaten Nottingham Forest, but just not clinical at all in front of net. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Chelsea win. Chelsea buoyed by a victory last week against Wolves with a heavily rotated squad. And I think Chelsea can win this. I think Chelsea will win against AC Milan in the Champions League. And I think Chelsea should be able to beat Villa quite comfortably. I initially tipped Chelsea -1 handicap at 3. But then when I saw the odds for Chelsea to win were 1.76, 1.8. Just don't complicate things and make it 1.8. Chelsea to win at 1.8 is unreal. That is definitely going to be in my accumulator for sure. So Chelsea to beat Aston Villa there. Leeds United, Arsenal. We'll give Leeds a goal. They always tend to score. Arsenal are going to win. They look absolutely phenomenal. Arsenal to win and both teams to score at 3 is my tip because Arsenal, they do concede goals. You look here, 2 goals to Liverpool, 1 goal to Tottenham. They beat Brentford. Brentford were very good. That was just a maniac game. They beat Aston Villa 2-1, beat Fulham 2-1, beat Bournemouth 3-0. So other than Bournemouth and Brentford, they've conceded goals when they win, and I could see it happening here. So I'm going 3-1 to Arsenal to go up from 1.54 to 3 just to concede a goal when it won't really matter because I think Arsenal can easily score 3. So I think Arsenal to win and both teams to score is a brilliant shout there. After that, it's Man United up against Newcastle, Old Trafford. Newcastle getting some brilliant results. 5-1 to Brentford, 5-1 to Fulham. Crazy games. This is going to be much harder for them. Newcastle are going to score. They just are. But I'm going to go for a Manchester United win. Going to be close. 2-1. If you want to go for Man United to win just outright, you can definitely do that. But Man United and both teams to score at 3.6 looked far too good to be true. Now, obviously, with tips with value like this, the likelihood of them coming in is less. But the last 2 times Man United have played Newcastle, they've won with both teams scoring. So I could see it happening again at Old Trafford, just like they did against Everton. I'm going to go for a 2-1. Could be a 3-2. Could be a 5-3. It could be something crazy. But I'm going for Man United in the end to come out on top. Next up, it's Southampton up against West Ham. This is going to be a really, really tricky one. Southampton have a decent little record against West Ham, but they look like one of the teams that could really be in trouble for relegation this season. West Ham finally picking up a bit of form. They got the win here against Fulham, the win against Wolves. I'm going for a win here as well. I'm going to go for 0 for Southampton and a 1-0 win to West Ham. I think that could definitely happen. And my tip is actually West Ham draw no bet at 1.72. I don't think Southampton will beat West Ham. Obviously, it's something that could happen. Southampton do get the odd home win here and there. It's just very random and hard to predict. That Chelsea one, for example, and the Leicester one as well. You know what I mean? So they could get a win here. It could be a 2-1 Southampton, but West Ham are the better side. So I'm going to shade them. West Ham draw no bet. And then the final game, we travel to Anfield for Liverpool up against Manchester City. And you know who it is. I say it every week. It happens every week. Erling Haaland is going to score again. How can you say Liverpool blank at Anfield? You can't. But I'd only go as far to give them 1 goal. Man City are too good. I'm going to give Man City 3. 3-1 to Manchester City. Again, I was going to go to Manchester City and both teams to score as a tip for this one. But the odds were 1.75, 1.8 for Manchester City to win. For a team that looks as good as Manchester City against a team that is struggling as much as Liverpool are, I mean, I assume they beat Rangers in the Champions League, but I don't know. Liverpool just aren't looking like themselves. And Man City, on the other hand, are keeping it right up there with Arsenal. And I think they're going to beat Liverpool quite comfortably. Maybe even look at Manchester City -1 handicap. City are so good. And when they have Erling Haaland on the field, he is going to score goals. So I'm going for the Man City win. So I think if I had to pick a tip for this week, it would probably be, if we look at these fixtures here, Chelsea to win at 1.8, absolutely insane. Man City to win at 1.75, and maybe over 2.5 goals in the Leeds Arsenal game. I think that would be my treble. If not, I'd perhaps go to the Leicester Palace game for goals. But yeah, I think what it would be Chelsea and Man City to win, and then over 2.5 goals in the Leeds Arsenal game, because that could be a 3-0. So this would be my treble for all of you watching this video, and as you can see, it comes in at just over 5, which is very handy. And another thing that I really like is it is a Super Sunday. So you've got the Chelsea game and the Arsenal game at 2 p.m. Chelsea get a nice little win, Arsenal get a nice little high-scoring win, and then you can watch the Liverpool-Man City game, back the Man City win, and if you put 10 on it, you get 50 back. So there we go. I've had a lot of love from you for the recent accumulators. We've had some good success as well with tips as well in the Premier League. I'm feeling like a proper veteran of the Premier League tips now because I have been doing this for over 4 years now. So we've got quite a lot of experience. And yeah, things are going really well. Massive shout out to all of you once again for the support on these videos. Please do drop a like, leave your predictions down in the comments. And if you do want to join the members like only tips, then you can click the join button down below. But that is going to do it from me, and I will see you in the next video very soon.